Welcome in. What's Right with Nick Wright, episode 286. Got a lot to do today. I'm trying to have this show today not be 90 minutes, so we'll hop right into it. Here's what missed the cut. Just a ridiculous way for the Colts to lose and essentially end their playoff hopes. The NBA Cup final tonight, not in the show, but it is a great matchup, Giannis and Shea. And the drones in New Jersey that I have dedicated absolutely zero mental bandwidth to. Too locked into the NFL. Also a little poker stuff that I might be able to update you guys about. Damonza, great to see you. Hope you had a wonderful weekend. Heard you made some great chicken noodle soup, I'm told. I was told to ask you how did it turn out? On a scale of 1 to 10, give it a grade.
I'd have to give it an F. It didn't get done.
We're
We're back in there this weekend.
Sorry about that. That's kind of a bummer of a way to start the show. My apologies. I didn't mean to do that to you.
Should I have lied there? For the energy of the show? Should I have?
You could have just been like, I'd give it a 6. I'll do better next time. But I appreciate that your first instinct is honesty. All right, let's get to the football from the weekend. Go ahead.
All right, yeah, so the Chiefs won a little bit more convincingly against the Browns this weekend. But yep. Patrick Mahomes went down with another high ankle sprain. How are you feeling about that, by the way? Are you nervous? I know we've been here before.
I'll get into that in a moment as part of the answer, so go ahead.
But yeah, so Josh Allen and the Bills, they beat the Lions and have put up 90 over the last couple of games. So it seems like that conversation of who the best quarterback is back in action. And would you say that that's fair?
Yeah. So this enraged me yesterday on television. And so first a little news, I guess, on Patrick. Anyone saying Kansas City should consider shutting him down for the season until the playoffs, I can tell you it is a 0% chance of that happening. 0%. There is no chance he is shut down for the season. And folks operating as if it is a guarantee that he does not play this week are incorrect. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you, oh man, hammer the Chiefs plus 2.5 because he's definitely playing and that line will flip back to Chiefs by 4, which it was before the injury news. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is it has not yet been determined if he is or isn't playing this week. I personally would not play him this week and then plan to play him Wednesday against the Steelers. That way he doesn't have that super compressed rest. But that's the news on it. Now to this best quarterback alive conversation, which is utterly and thoroughly and legitimately not only maddening, and I don't want to sound too hyperbolic here, but an indictment on our state of conversational affairs and an indictment on folks' ability to actually follow their own edicts, okay? So let me give you guys a quick recap of the best quarterback alive discussion over the last few years. Going into 2022, it was an actual legitimate debate to have. Mahomes had won an MVP in 2018 and then won the Super Bowl and Super Bowl MVP in 2019, then had really a historically great 2020 season, but Tom Brady, who had won the Super Bowl in 2018, in his first year with Tampa, they rally at the end of the year. He's spectacular. The defense is great. Beats Mahomes in the Super Bowl. Meanwhile, as that's happening, Aaron Rodgers bounces back, wins league MVP. 2021 comes around. Brady almost wins league MVP at 40-something years old. Aaron Rodgers wins another MVP, and Mahomes has an awful second half against the Bengals in the playoffs, and they don't make the Super Bowl, going for their third straight appearance in the Super Bowl. And then the Chiefs trade Tyreek Hill. And it's like, oh my goodness, this is a real discussion. Is it Brady still, unbelievably? Is it Patrick? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Those are the candidates. That was also the year of the 13-second playoff game, and that was the year some of the Josh Allen stuff really started to take off in a historically unprecedented manner, where, again, we've talked about it before, Josh got more credit for almost beating the Chiefs than Joe Burrow got for actually beating the Chiefs, and they both got more credit than Matt Stafford got for actually beating the team that beat the Chiefs, which is the team that beat the Bills and winning the Super Bowl. So there we're at in 2022. Then, in 2022, without Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes has a masterclass. The Chiefs are the number one seed. They're the highest scoring team in the league. They put up the most yards of anyone in the league. Mahomes has more yards in a season than any quarterback in NFL history. In the playoffs, he suffers a brutal injury, misses no time, beats Joe Burrow with a drive with 30 seconds left in the game, then puts up 38 points in a Super Bowl to win the game, with the critical play being a 30-yard run on a busted-up ankle. And everyone says, okay, oh yeah, and Tom Brady retires, and Aaron Rodgers misses the playoffs, and Josh Allen loses a home playoff game getting blown out to Joe Burrow. All right? That's how 2022 went, and the best quarterback alive discussion was over. Brady's out of the league. Rodgers is on the downslope and leaving Green Bay. Josh Allen had just a horrific playoff loss and a middling regular season. Burrow couldn't get it done. And Patrick has one of the greatest years anyone's had in the history of the sport. Again, the most yards anyone's ever had, most points in the league, most yards in the league by a team. 38 points in the Super Bowl and did it on an injury. That's how 2022 ended. And everyone unanimously said, all the media, this might be the best quarterback I've ever seen. Certainly the best quarterback in the league. Then we get to last year. And last year, the Chiefs look shaky start to finish. Mahomes has his worst statistical season. Now, it's not as bad as the season, and Aaron Rodgers is out of it because popped his Achilles. Tom Brady is retired. Lamar, at this point, 2 straight years, by the way, let's bring him into it, has not finished the season healthy. 2 straight years has not played in a playoff game when we're into 2023. So he's not in the discussion at that time. It's Josh, Joe, and Patrick. But it's really just Patrick. But then the season starts, and Patrick is struggling. But Joe's not there to take advantage of it because he's injured at the start of the year and playing poorly. Finally plays well, then he's injured again. Josh, the story last year was, holy shit, that's a lot of turnovers. So much so, they're 6-6 and fire the offensive coordinator. And the big shift they make is they become a more run-centric team. But the Chiefs keep looking shaky and keep looking bad. And everyone says, oh my goodness, they're going to be on the road, which was correct. They're vulnerable. They're not the same. It's the worst receiving core in the league. They're cooked. And then Patrick plays 4 games of perfect football in the playoffs, going up against the league's highest scorer, the most prolific offense in Miami, and blowing them out, going into Josh's building and wildly outplaying him, going into Lamar's building and wildly outplaying him, and then playing in the Super Bowl against Purdy, who almost won MVP, and outplaying him. And everyone says, okay, seriously this time, we won't have this debate again. My bad. I'm sorry. Of the active quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks now, the only other one with MVPs, again, if we take Rodgers out of it, because he was 40 and missed the year, is Lamar, who has as many MVPs as playoff victories. None of them have Super Bowl wins of the guys in the discussion. And, okay, yeah, we won't make that mistake again. Now we get to this season where there is not another quarterback in the league that coming off back-to-back Super Bowls with this schedule and this expectation and it being everyone's Super Bowl would have this team 13-1. They're 13-1. They have the best record in the league. After a rocky opening 6 games of the season that they were undefeated kind of despite Patrick's play, he's played great. And folks are like, yeah, I just think Josh is better. And we've never seen it happen in sports. And people are like, oh, it's like Brady Manning. Brady Manning, when that was a debate in the mid-2010s, Peyton's numbers for his career and MVPs were so overwhelming compared to Tom's. Peyton had far better stats, multiple MVPs. Tom had neither. Josh Allen is having an awesome year. This year Josh Allen is having would not be one of the 3 best seasons Patrick Mahomes has had in his career. 2018, Patrick was better than this. 2020, the forgotten season when Patrick had 38 touchdowns, 6 picks, 5,000 yards, or 4,700 yards, pardon me, would have been 5,000, but he skipped the final game and they went 14-1. And 2022, Patrick was better than this. Again, Josh having a great year. And I got to listen to people saying Josh Allen at his best is the best quarterback I've ever seen, which is just utter nonsense. It's just total foolishness. I have to listen to people saying, oh no, it is now a real debate. Is Josh Allen having a better individual season than Patrick Mahomes? Of course. This year, there's no doubt about that. There's no argument there. So is Lamar, by the way. There's no argument there. But in order to be in the best quarterback alive discussion, first of all, it probably helps to not be playing at the exact same time as the best quarterback ever, but take that part out of it. Historically speaking, you always had to have some accomplishment. And so, for the guys in it, I will ask you, Damonza, I'm going to put you on the spot. That's a little unfair, so it can be a little rhetorical. What's the best win of Josh Allen's career? Just somebody tell me. I'd love to know it. Was it the playoff game against Skylar Thompson? Was it the playoff win against Lamar Jackson when it was 10-3 and then Lamar threw a pick 6? They won 17-3? What's the best win of his career? I want to know.
I mean,
because I
honestly,
can't think of one.
People are predicating everything based off of who can beat the Chiefs and Mahomes. I do think those regular season wins is what carries weight in people's heads, and then you get to the postseason and you see the regular season. Okay. The regular season win didn't matter, but I do think that a lot of people saw that Josh Allen beat Mahomes head up this year. He's having this year. I think coming into the season, people were saying it's going to be the worst.
He beat him head up. He beat him head up in the regular season the last 3 times they played. Right. And listen, okay, so right now the leading contender for the best win of Josh Allen's career is an early season, regular season game against the Chiefs. Got it. Now let's bring, because folks want to, we can do the same thing with Lamar. What's Lamar's biggest moment? Playoff win against Houston is the answer. I know that one. That's his biggest moment. And then we'll see if he can build on it. You don't get to swear to an audience, as everyone in the media did in February last year, I'll never make this mistake again. I'll never be dumb enough to say someone's better than this guy, or this guy doesn't have it, or argue about it. And everybody did. It was across the board, all the folks who said, no, this is the year last year, they don't have it, then paid their pound of flesh by saying, my bad, won't do it again. And the fact that we are seeing people do it again when the Chiefs are the only one-loss team in the league is unfucking believable. Truly. When every time this year Patrick's had the ball in his hands with a chance to go win the game, he's done it. And people are still like, oh yeah, it's just, I've changed my mind. It's embarrassing. It undercuts your ability to be taken seriously as an analyst as opposed to just seeing where the wind's blowing. And there is a very weird narrative piece of this, which is Jared Goff has had a spectacular year. One horrific game where he threw 5 picks. They somehow won anyway. Jared Goff just had a 500-yard, 5-touchdown game. His team allowed 40, and they lost. And everyone's like, okay, MVP race over, it's Josh Allen's. Which, Josh would have my vote right now for the record. 9 days ago, Josh did exactly what Jared just did, and everyone said it helped him. 9 days ago, Josh scored 40 in a loss. Had unbelievable stats that are like, that's why he's MVP. This week, Jared Goff has 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in a loss. People are like, MVP race over, it's Josh's. And listen, I think the guy's playing great. I truly do. And I think he is right now, he being Josh Allen, the deserving MVP. But I cannot believe we are back to a place when the two-time defending Super Bowl MVP has his team at 13-1 going for a three-peat with a season where they have lost either for the year or for giant portions of the year. Number 1 running back, number 1, 2, 4, and 5 wide receivers, number 3, 4, 5 tight end, their left tackle, their number 2, number 3 corner, their number 1 defensive end, their number 1, their number 2 kicker. Dealt with all that. Lions dealing with injuries right now, and people are like, man, it's a shame. Season's probably over for them. And we are having this discussion when every other quarterback, Damonza, that is in the discussion, their best season of their career cumulatively, from individual and team success, put them together and make it a chart of how you want to weigh it. Every other quarterback we're discussing, Allen, Lamar, Burrow, those guys, the best season of their individual careers would be the worst season of Patrick's. I'm going to say it again. Every other quarterback in this, what is the best season of Josh Allen's career? This right now, we might be in the midst of it. Statistically, we are in the midst of it, but it's not. We don't have the full picture of it yet. What would it be? It would be what, 2020? Okay, getting blown out in the AFC Championship game and coming third in MVP voting. Yeah, that would be horrifying. That'd be the worst season of Patrick's career. The worst. What's the best season of Lamar's career? It's actually his first year as a starter or this year, but again, we got to wait and see how this year plays out. Well, his first year as a starter, going 14-2, winning the MVP, and losing your first playoff game and playing terribly in it. Well, that would be horrifying. And so I just think that it is a sad state of sports media affairs when folks can be so loud wrong all of last year, try to atone for it in February, and then just be like, the audience isn't paying that close of attention. I'll just do it again. So, I know I said I wanted to go fast. Instead, I spent 20 minutes on the A's. But, on the first topic. But you can ask me the follow-up here, and we can talk a little bit more about the 1-seed stuff.
So Buffalo gets New England 2 times to end up the year. Do you think that they could potentially lock up the 1 seed with those easy games and the Chiefs having their slate?
So listen, here's the deal. Let's just assume Buffalo goes 3-0. If Buffalo loses once, then they're probably cooked. If Buffalo loses once, then they would need the Chiefs to go 0-3 the rest of the way, but to be the one. But let's assume if they go New England, Jets, New England. Let's just assume Buffalo runs the table. All right? They would need Kansas City to lose twice. Kansas City's not going to lose twice. And I believe that if Patrick doesn't play on Saturday, I think that is a great Chris Jones activate moment against that Texans offensive line. And this is the other thing and they could theoretically, Vegas thinks Mahomes isn't going to play. And yes, the Texans are the favorites, but it's a 2-point line. It's not quite a coin flip, but it's very, very close. I did not love at all how Houston played this week. I thought Houston's game this week was not encouraging. And I thought Stroud against Miami, I thought Stroud once again, threw the ball 26 times for 130 yards. It was kind of an awkward game for him. So I think Houston can get got. And I just don't believe Kansas City is losing twice. There also is a weird potential. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but there is a odd possibility that if Denver beats Cincinnati in a week, they could go into week 18 locked into their spot. And would Denver be like, we're just going to give ourselves a bye week and rest people in that? Everybody thought the Chiefs might be resting people, and that would help Denver in that week 18 game. I wonder if that could go the other way. But this is why all those close wins and everything matters. Because, if the Chiefs only had a 1-game cushion, which would really be a half-game cushion because they lost head-to-head to Buffalo, and Mahomes just suffered this ankle injury, then you're nervous. Then it's like, man, if you think Buffalo's going 3-0, you also have to go 3-0 or you lose the bye week. And I don't care nearly as much about home field advantage as I do the bye week. But they're 13-1 and Buffalo's 10-3. And, no, I'm sorry. That couldn't be right. Buffalo's 11-3. Chiefs are 13-1 and Buffalo's 11-3, so they have a game to play with. So, no, I'm not as concerned. All right, let's move on to the next topic.
So the injuries have been stacking up for the Lions heavily on that defensive side. But now David Montgomery's down, and he's out for the rest of the season most likely. Dan Campbell went for that gutsy onside kick, and a lot of people were not agreeing with that. Do you think that they officially peaked too early? They're obviously still a dangerous team. But
I don't know how dangerous they are with these defensive injuries. And I think they've allowed 79 points the last 2 weeks. Buffalo's actually allowed 86 the last 2 weeks. It's an underrated story for a team that everyone's just handing the Lombardi to, but that's fine. Both Buffalo and Detroit, each of the last 2 weeks, have both allowed more points than the Chiefs have allowed in any game, one game, forget back-to-back, in the last 2 years. But again, they've earned a lot more benefit of the doubt than the two-time defending champs with the best record in football. But listen, I want to talk Detroit's injuries, then I want to talk Dan Campbell. Detroit's injuries are so clustered defensively and so devastating that I think they're in real trouble. And here's the problem, Damonza. It looked like the Lions sailing to the 1 seed, right? Now all of a sudden, it is so on the board that they fall to either the 2 or Minnesota catches them, which means they fall to the 5. Minnesota, Philly, and Detroit are all 12-2. Minnesota gets Detroit week 18. So Minnesota technically controls its own destiny for the 1 seed. Problem for Detroit is if Minnesota catches them, they fall to the 5. You fall to the 5, what's your first playoff game? Either at Tampa, who already beat you this year, or at the Rams, who played you to overtime this year. That's not great. You fall to just the 2 seed. Who do you get? Probably Washington. I think you would beat Washington. But maybe Green Bay. Green Bay, who you've beaten twice, but we just saw play you 34-31 to the final moment. It is very on the board. Detroit goes from 14 days ago, oh my God, Detroit's the favorite to win the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history, to one and done in the playoffs. Yeah. Football's a cruel game, man. It's a cruel, and by the way, like, Cincinnati had a nice run, back-to-back conference title games with the Super Bowl mixed in. Last year, injuries killed them. This year, they're just not good. San Francisco had a hell of a run, right? 5 years, 4 NFC title games, 2 Super Bowl appearances. They're cooked for the year. Philly is in the midst of an excellent run. With that said, win a Super Bowl, tear it down, build it back up, make another Super Bowl, melt down at the end of the year, recover this year. Buffalo has not had the fall apart, but Buffalo also, of those teams, is the one to never actually break through and get to the Super Bowl. And then of course, again, sorry for being obnoxious, there's the team that's been to 4 of the last 6 Super Bowls and 6 of the last 6 Final Fours. Now to Dan Campbell. The onside kick was an absurdity. And how did you feel about it, Damonza? Down 10, 12 minutes left.
No, I think you probably could have kicked it off. I talked to the producers about it, and it's just, I think it's a 7% chance of you recovering an onside kick. So it's just basically saying that you don't trust the defense, 8% to stop Josh Allen and the Bills. And that makes a lot of sense. It's like, where's your hope at? What do you think is more likely to come out? And he thought that the onside kick was more likely to get them the win.
And it's problematic for 2 reasons. One is, here were the possessions the Bills had leading up to the onside kick. The 3 possessions leading up to it, okay? The question is, were the Bills just marching up and down the field every possession? And the answer is actually no, they weren't. The possessions were, Detroit forced the 1 punt all game they forced. The next possession, Buffalo scored a touchdown, but that drive started on Detroit's 26 because of a Detroit fumble. So that's not, we don't know if they would have stopped them on a full field. They started in the 26. And the next possession, Buffalo kicked a field goal. So it had gone punt, 26-yard touchdown drive, field goal. So you actually had a chance of stopping them. But the point you made, Damonza, is, to me, the more important one. Dan Campbell can no longer sell, I believe in my defense. 2 weeks in a row, he has done wildly irrational things purely because he is telling the world and those players, no, I don't trust you at all. Can you stop Jordan Love for 30 seconds so we just kick this field goal on 4th down? No, I don't think you can. You get us
it's
one
also not
stop?
his primary guys. You know, he's got a bunch of the injuries. and like maybe that,
No.
like that feeds into it.
Of course that feeds into it. But my point is, those are his primary guys now.
Now, right.
Those
yes.
are the guys now he's got to go to war with. And again, this is a terrible analogy. Just awful, but I'm just going to use it. It won't even really make sense. But if it's like, hey, here's the deal, guys. Nick, you can either, we've got a cash bonus for the pod coming. Either you answer 10 consecutive trivia questions correct, or Damonza gets one right. And I'm like, give me the questions. And then next week, they give us the same thing. And I'm like, yeah, give me the questions. But then you and I are about to enter a single elimination trivia playoffs. And I'm like, don't worry, man. You and me, we're a team. You'd be like, man, you don't trust me. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, you know, and so it's okay. Thanks. I'm glad. It was a kind of a weird one, but like, it is. So I really respect Dan Campbell, and I think he is way more good than bad for the Lions. I don't even think that's a question. But we're seeing some creaks, and the thing I can't stop thinking about
with it, you know, he gets very very gritty. I don't know, falls into the whole lore of it. I don't know how to explain it.
It does, but sometimes sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. But also watching this Lions team just get brutalized by injuries, it made me think of what he said to them, what he said to at the podium after the NFC Championship game they kind of blew last year when he was like, yeah, I told the guys we may never be back here. This might have been our best chance. He said that to the media, and it was like really stunning. He was just being honest. He was like, yeah, I told the guys. Like, it's really hard. This might have been our best chance. Hopefully that motivates them, you know, over the summer. But it was true. And this is why, man. Lions looked like the best team in football 3 weeks ago. Now, they're in a 3-way tie atop their conference, and the injuries are just absolutely devastating. All right, next.
So the Eagles won aerially against Pittsburgh.
It's a good one. I like
it.
And
Jalen Hurts took like maybe a victory lap on the podium. Seems like it might have annoyed you a little bit though. What's your gripe here?
All right. So Jalen Hurts played great, by the way. Passing game played great. They did a great win for them. We were, by the way, good job by us not falling in last week into the, oh man, Tomlin getting all those points trap, because non-conference game, different spot. We understood that Pittsburgh's game of the year is next week or this week against Baltimore. They win that game, they win the division. So, you know, different circumstance. By the way, again, sorry to bring up the Chiefs again, sneaky potential slight benefit of this brutal 3 games in 10 days stretch. The Chiefs have a real chance of playing consecutive games, maybe 3 in a row, depending on what happens with Denver. It wouldn't. Let me just go consecutive games. Consecutive games against teams that the previous week clinched their division. This week, Houston clinched the South, so I wonder how that impacts them for this game on Saturday. And if the Steelers win on Saturday, they clinch the North. How does that impact them for the game on Wednesday? But let me set that aside. Jalen Hurts. So Jalen Hurts plays great. They win. And he says smugly, so that's what y'all wanted to see, right? As if the media started this. Buddy, here is the order of operations. The Philadelphia Eagles win their 9th straight game to get to 11-2. Saquon Barkley is the toast of the town. Might win MVP from the running back position. Seems like the defense is elite. Seems like all's good. Media shows up in the locker room after. A.J. Brown, who was visibly pissed on the sidelines, they ask him about it. A.J. Brown, who is not in the media, says, hey, A.J., what do you need to work on? Passing? Makes it, he seems angry and pissed. The next day, the longest tenured Eagle goes on the radio and says, yeah, man, AJ's super pissed. Probably better to keep that in-house. And it's just such a shame because he and Jalen used to be friends. That's what happened. This was not a media creation. This was your star wide receiver and your defense team leader creation. And so for him to then come out and be like, all right, you guys demanded it, so we gave it to you. Your guys demanded it. And here's the thing. And even in a win, the Eagles can't stay out of their own media way, because even in a win, you got Sirianni and the defensive line coach going belly to belly, yelling at each other. Big Dom is sitting there like, what am I supposed to do? That dude's actually bigger than me. Like, this is not what I'm equipped for. And so I can't, it's just unfathomable, the like, I told you so. Now, here's the thing. Maybe. Here is the thing. To win the Super Bowl, that is what we need to see. In the Super Bowl, you are going to be playing, if you get there, either the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills, or I'll be nice to Damonza and include the Baltimore Ravens.
Appreciate it.
If you're playing one of those three teams, you're going to have to be able to win through the air. You're not going to be able to ground and pound your way to a win in that game. So yes, that is what people needed to see. But we weren't demanding it. Your teammates were. Also, I will say this. Shout out to Jalen Hurts for reminding America what real jewelry can look like. Not some of this, not some of this. Oh man, I got this on loan and I spent, again, I'm going to say a big amount of money, but not, I got this sweet pendant for $8,000. No. That right there, that was at least a 6-figure medallion, and it looked like it. And I respect it. Like, there is, sometimes you think, like, oh man, like, how much money do the ball players have? And the answer is the most. Like, whenever there's a question about in, like, kind of like, I don't want to sort of say hip-hop culture, but kind of is like urban hip-hop athlete culture. In that culture, there's a lot of musicians that have jewelry. It's not ball player jewelry. And by the way, Jalen Hurts, the last thing he wanted was for an NBA player to walk into that press conference. Because then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, you got that guaranteed, you got that fully guaranteed jewelry. Yeah, and so, listen, Jalen looked great and played great. And I give him credit. But that's what you wanted to see. The grass is green where you water it. Well, then put a little fertilizer on the passing game then, fella, because that was a concern. Quick break, right back. What's right? Welcome back in. What's Right with Nick Wright. So we got a bunch still to do today, and I want to give you guys an update if we can on poker, WSOP Paradise at the Bahamas. So we got a clip we can play, and then I'll tell you guys what I was doing. Go ahead and roll the clip.
The dream would be to win this thing.
Yes.
But I don't.
That takes a while.
Right, and that's really the only reason I couldn't win it is the time. I just didn't
why-
have the time.
that's why you
And so,
couldn't sit
given the
down.
time constraints, the second dream is to commentate it.
So this is, what do you laugh about, Damonza?
I just couldn't win. I just don't have the time.
Yeah,
man.
I just don't have the time. I mean, it is $6 million for first place. Shout out. So a little poker stuff here quickly. So the World Series of Poker is in not so much of a cold war, kind of a hot war with these other poker entities. And they decided they were going to try to basically steal the December Poker Festival corner from their competitors. And they have this massive World Series of Poker Paradise event at Atlantis in the Bahamas that this year had a they had a $500,000 invitational buy-in, multiple $100,000 buy-ins for like the super pros or the super rich business people. But they also had a $25,000 buy-in super main event with a $50 million guaranteed total prize pool. The biggest in the history of poker as far as a guarantee. And what that guarantee means is, so if it's $25,000 to enter and you're guaranteeing there'll be $50 million in the prize pool, they needed 2,000 entries. They needed 2,000 people to put up 25 grand to play, or enough people to rebuy, meaning they bust out and then put another 25,000 in. I met a guy there who fired 6 bullets in it, 150 grand in this thing. And if not, they got to put the money up themselves. And they didn't get to 2,000, but my God, they got close. I think they got to 1,987, something around there. So they came like 15, 20 people short. So they almost hit it without an overlay. There still was a slight overlay, and I did commentary for it on Saturday. And I think I'm going to be doing more and more of the World Series of Poker, and it is like my favorite thing. And I'm going to tell you this. It is, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Nothing gives me more of like a childlike thrill, like when a kid meets their favorite athlete, than when these professional poker players are like, I don't want to say want to meet me, because it's not like that, but like aware of me from the sports stuff, because so many of these guys are also big-time sports gamblers, and obviously, where else would you go for your sports picks this year other than Danny Parkins right here? Danny, by the way, 31-17 now against the spread. 31-17. But so I get to see like Chance Corneth, who's one of the greatest players in the world. After I was done commentating, I played in a pot limit Omaha cash game, and he just sat with me and we chatted and he sweated my cards. I tried to get in a game with Jamie Gold and Chris Moneymaker, which looked like one of the softest PLO games running at the moment, but nobody was getting up. Like, it was just so much fun. So if you check out the WSOP's YouTube page for day 1C, the middle part of day 1C, you can see some of my commentary, and I hope to be doing more of it. All right, Damonza, let's talk a little Travis Hunter before we get to our game.
We wanted to discuss Travis Hunter's getting the Heisman. You wanted to discuss his girlfriend / fiance, so I'm gonna go ahead and let you go there. Curious?
Have you followed this on the internet?
Yes.
It's been impossible not to follow, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Just been everywhere. I'm gonna have a take that might make some of my friends in the media mad. Might be unpopular take. Can everybody leave these two people's personal life alone, please? Like, can we? Like, can we? Travis doesn't yet fully know how to be famous. His fiance definitely doesn't know how to be famous. They're kids. And the number of grown-ass men that are like, oh, like I've sniffed it out. She didn't stand fast enough when he won the award. She seems, too me. He better get a prenup, or he better break. Now's your exit. You guys are jerks, man. Like, seriously. It's so out of line. Here's the thing. I know nothing about this relationship, and I'm not going to act as if every relationship's good. And that there are, obviously it's not. Leave that to his actual people. Like, this is my frustration. And I really am shocked and this is like a real indictment on current social media, because it was pervasive. You couldn't avoid it. And you couldn't then, like, folks feel like, well, it's all over social media, so I have to comment on it. Now I'm commenting on the commentary, all of it. Guys, this kid has people in his life. He has Deion Sanders in his life. He has coaches and mentors and actual friends and actual family that can give him actual advice. It's not helpful for him or the young woman to have her 12-second disposition or offhanded comment analyzed and broken down. And so, again, I don't think people be like, Nick, last week you talked about Belichick's relationship. Talking about a 72-year-old man's decision to publicly date a 24-year-old, to me, is in bounds. Ripping a civilian who didn't sign up to be this level of celebrity just endlessly because of her body language or a curt comment during, like, an autograph signing is so just mean. And I guess I have a hard time not thinking about, maybe you'll appreciate this, Damonza. I have a hard time whenever it's young people, not thinking about your or Diora, if the audience doesn't know, one of Damonza's sisters, the 19-year-old, your or Diora's most spoiled or annoying moments of late teenage, early, you know what I mean? Like, whatever your like, your wouldn't want that shared all over the internet. Kind of look like a jerk or entitled or whatever. Those moments, and how they are not at all indicative of who you are, but indicative of adolescence and young adulthood and people having bad days and all of it. And if all of a sudden that were broadcast to the world, and now it's like you got to break up with her, and what it does, like, I just think it's so crummy. And I just think people don't realize or remember what it's like to be around that age and how in our own head we all are or were. To this day, I have a very vivid memory, very vivid, of being in my mom's dad, my grandfather. This is maybe like an embarrassing story to tell, but I don't mind telling it because maybe people will give people just a touch more grace. Being in my mom's father's hospital room. He was 90 something at the time, and he ended up living like another, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months, something like that. But in the moment, it was like, oh, he might be dying right now. I remember being in there. And I remember my mom, understandably, being super disappointed is probably the right word with me, because I couldn't get off my phone because I was in a fight with my girlfriend in college. And I was so I couldn't see the world past my own nose. And it was the thing, like, that was the thing that I was seeing at the moment. I didn't have I hadn't activated the full levels of, like, compassion in my brain yet to recognize, hey, man, whatever's going on with you, your mom is worried her father is dying. Like, you know what I mean? This could be your last moment together. Like, get out of your own stuff and be there for your people. I still look back on that and cringe, and I'm so grateful that he didn't die that weekend and that I got more time with him. But I also look back on it and try to give myself grace, like, I was 19. Like, it was, like, I couldn't see anything bigger than that. And so I only even tell that story because everyone's dragging this girl because I couldn't even watch the clip because I felt it was so, like, just everyone's commentary was so mean. But evidently, like, he was doing some meet and greet and she said, like, wait, I got to sit here all day or something like that. I don't know. And everyone's like, oh, this selfish, whatever. Man, like, yeah, do you know any 20-somethings? Yeah, like that's the deal. And so I just felt it. And here's the last piece of it that I'm going to say. I also think that people are lying when they're like, I'm just trying to help Travis. No, you're not. You're just trying to comment on the hot topic. If it was really about helping Travis, some of these people are big enough, they might have access to Travis. Some of them are legit, famous NFL athletes or former NFL athletes, whatever. Certainly have access to Prime. And if you don't, trust the people in his circle to know more. And so I didn't like it. I didn't like it one bit. And it feels to me like there is a part of all of us kind of losing our compassion is maybe the right word. I'm not sure. Understanding. Because empathy, there you go. Thank you. Because our social media algorithms are really just like really sending us this stuff and then it starts to snowball. So like, I don't know. I don't know if you wanted to say anything, Damonza. I know you didn't know where I was going to go with that.
I had no idea.
Did you think when you saw this in the rundown that I was going to rip her?
No.
No.
There was no chance. I figured you would lean more that side than in that direction. But yeah, I didn't realize we were talking about the girlfriend until it got over here. That got switched up. But yeah, I mean, they're obviously kids, and I see why you said this. If you can be in that state while your mom's dad is literally passing, it's like I get it. Like it is hard to see past, and I remember I'm hard. Like 4 or 5 years removed.
And you might be, I think she's a little older. She might be around, I'm not sure exactly how old she is. Maybe I should have looked this up. Maybe one of the producers can put it in the rundown for me. I think she's a little older than Travis, so she might be around your age. But like, it's all, she's
still a kid, compared to the large media that's criticizing her.
And certainly did not sign up for this level of public spotlight. Like, that's the other piece of it. The other piece of it is, okay, she's 23. So, I mean, so around Travis's age. Like, it's just, thank you. I have different, I don't know. I've spent enough time on it. There's different rules for people that are like, I want to be in the public eye at all times. And, I feel like I have an. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead. You have a.
No, I understand that every time and I'm not acting like I'm some big celebrity, but I'm a public person. I understand that every time I go out in public, I'm accountable for every action in a way. If I had, my producer who does a great job, Hubs isn't. You know what I mean? Like Hubs has a big time important job, but it's a relatively speaking anonymous job. And you are more accountable in public because of this than the other guys you work with behind the scenes on the herd, because you have you have a public profile to a degree. Travis didn't sign up to be a celebrity. He's a celebrity because of his own excellence, but he still knows it now. The girlfriend, like, I had never seen this person until 2 weeks ago. So, like, you can be like, oh,
I'm gonna say
you're dating a
one
famous
thing.
person, but
I'm not playing devil's advocate or anything.
yeah.
But
No,
she
sure.
was
Go
in
ahead.
she was in the Adidas commercial. She is in like the literal commercial.
No, you know what?
like-
That's actually so that is a fair point, that she now has signed up at some level of public profile, and I had forgotten about that. That is a good point. I would add two things to it. One is, so if she is a public person now, it's brand new to her.
Right,
And the other one is, I think this vitriol she's been receiving, she would have been receiving either way. Oh, and that's the other thing. People killed him. Now that you mention it, people killed him and her for that. Like, what's she doing in the commercial?
Yeah.
Hey, man, he loves her. Like, and again, they're young kids, and a lot of us are like, man, look back on our high school or college sweethearts. And I always felt, I remember, I'm not going to name names because certain factions on the internet will seize on it. But I remember watching the Chiefs win their first Super Bowl. And everyone is celebrating with their, parents and wives or whatever. And there was a certain player, a very high-level player, who his whole celebrations with his girlfriend. And I remember seeing it and thinking to myself, I'm like, oh man, I really hope that relationship doesn't turn sour at some point, because this is an artifact. You know what I mean? This is, it was the same way I felt when Tiger won the Masters after everything. The last major he's won, his kids come and greet him, and his girlfriend does too. And it's like, oh, it's a risky one. Like, because, and now you can get married and divorced, obviously. And in both of those instances, when I saw it, not only did that player and Tiger end up breaking up with that person, but it appears to have been kind of an ugly aftermath. And I'm like, oh, that sucks. That, like, you know what I mean? When they're playing your Hall of Fame video and show you winning your first Super Bowl, it's like the embrace was, it's like, oh, yikes. But, like, and so if somebody close to Travis was like, hey, this is your first commercial, think about this. You know what I mean? Like, weigh exactly what it was. That's legitimate advice.
Right.
But he doesn't need it from the internet.
Yeah.
All right, let's quickly play, I don't even know what this is. Bracket
We're
to
doing right or
unpack it, I
wrong
think.
here.
I'm not sure what we call it, but go ahead.
We're doing bracket to unpack it? Or I thought we were doing
Yeah,
right
we're
or
going to do
wrong.
bracket to unpack it here instead of, I thought that's what we were doing. You guys tell me if I'm wrong.
Go in my ear. While some teams are slowing down, others are getting hot at the right time. History always says that there's that one dark horse team that gets hot at the end of the season. So we're gonna do a quick bracket to unpack it. I think we've got graphics. Yeah.
We've got 7 teams. So so we're removing the favorites. So the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Bills, the Lions are out of there. And then it's like I don't want to play team. So the producers correctly figured out my love for the Rams and gave them the 1 seed in the bye. Smart. You could have given, put an 8 seed in there. Like, who would the 8 seed be right now? I don't know, the Chargers or something, but that's smart. So the Rams advance. Bottom side of their bracket for playoff dark horses, Packers or Broncos. No question about it, that would be the Packers. Packers even maybe better than dark horse. Packers legit good team. They just have a brutal road ahead of them. Like, listen, they're 10-4. Jordan's playing well. It's just a very, very yeah, he is. But it's just 3 straight road games to make the Super Bowl. That's probably too much for them. But credit to them. Go to the other side of the bracket. This one's easy too. Bucks or Commanders. Bake Show is cooking. Yeah. Commanders, not as wobbly as they were, but that's an easy one. And then this one, Damonza's not going to like my answer here, but I'm going to say the Vikings.
You were going to. Yeah. I knew
I mean, if you're asking me who I would be more concerned about, the Vikings with that Brian Flores defense and Justin Jefferson, or the Ravens with that defense and Lamar's playoff history, I'd be more concerned with the Vikings. That's just my answer. People can be
more
mad if they want.
More unfamiliar territory, I get it.
Left side of the bracket, Rams, Packers. That'd be a great playoff game. I'd go with Stafford and McVay. So I'd say the Rams. Right side of the bracket, Bucks, Vikings. My heart says Bake Show. My head says Vikings. Vikings are a legit team, man. And by the way, we're including them as a dark horse, even though they're 12-2 and have the second best record in the league. And my number one is the number one seed in our thing, playoff dark horse, the Rams. I think the Rams can get to the Super Bowl. Oh, I didn't tell you. Maybe I did tell you. Hold on. When the Rams they started 1-4.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find the date of this. I have to check. It was the date of Hank Azaria's.
You might have said something about it.
My futures bet.
Oh, I didn't know.
Maybe it'll be on the slip when I made it. So I made this bet on October 25th at 1 a.m. Okay, that's healthy. What am I doing? Let me see what the Rams had done that day. So 1 a.m. October 25th is when I made this bet. That day, it was that was a Monday?
It was a Monday at 1 a.m. Yeah, wait, hold on. Yes,
no. October
25th. Oh, Friday. Yeah.
October 25th. It was right after the Rams had beaten the Vikings. So the Rams had beaten the Vikings on Thursday Night Football to get to 3-4. They had started 1-4. They got to 3-4. And I put a not small wager on them at 75-1 to win the Super Bowl.
To win it. Wow.
To win the Super Bowl. 75-1 when they were 3-4. Yeah, I mean, not a massive. I'm gonna text it to Damonza because I one thing that old age and I guess professional success has polluted is my ability to determine what is bet sizing. So I just texted to you, Damonza. I would say I put a medium-sized bet on the Rams at 75-1 to win the Super Bowl. So I have that cooking for me.
I have that. Wait. So can you put bets on teams just making it there?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I figured. All right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, are you saying I'm team never hedge, but what I will tell you is this. If the Rams make the Super Bowl and are playing the Chiefs,
right,
I will be putting a huge bet in on the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I'll have it to where I can't lose. That's not really a hedge as much as me going with what I want. But if it's like Rams Bills, I won't cash out. I won't bet the Bills. I'll just let it ride.
Leave as
All right, quick break. Right back. Answer some listener questions. What's right? All right, welcome back in. What's right with Nick Wright, Damonza? Let's answer some listener questions quickly.
Fade, how could you explain the Jets going for the touchdown instead of a game-winning field goal?
Okay, so it's because I saw other people asking about this. This was actually not a mistake. It was kind of borderline, but it wasn't a mistake. It's because the Jags had timeouts. So the Jets they have first and goal from the 1 with 68 seconds left, and the Jags have 2 timeouts. So let's just say you do what Fade is asking you to do. You kneel down. Okay, timeout. You went from a minute 8 to a minute 5. Give him 3 seconds for a kneel down, which is a long time. You kneel down again. Timeout. First, second down, gone. Now there's a minute 2. Third down, you're kneeling again. Okay. Clock runs. Now, 22 seconds left. Kick your field goal. Kicking off with like 18 seconds left, up 3. It's not a great chance you lose, but you have to execute the field goal, and you have to keep them out of field goal range. If the Jags had 1 or 0 timeouts, then obviously you kneel and then kick the field goal as time expires. Because they didn't, I'm fine with the Jets doing what they did. What you're probably supposed to do there, like the maximum value proposition there is, if I'm being honest, is kneel once to make them burn a timeout, then run the ball. And if you get stopped, make them burn another timeout, then run it again. And if you get stopped, then you're kicking the field goal with 20 seconds anyway. That's probably the absolute peak. But what they did was not bad. They scored a touchdown immediately, and then, of course, Mac Jones threw a pick. All right, next.
Uman123, if you change nothing else but have the Bills-Ravens game this weekend instead of September, is Lamar MVP?
That's such a great question. That if they just beat the Bills this weekend instead of in September, how that changes things.
Was that and the 9 completion game that he had?
That was against Houston. That was Houston the next week. He got blown out by the Ravens, and then did that against Houston. That's the old order of operations thing that really impacts the MVP race. All right, next.
Yep. Eric, hey Nick, love the show. I'm an NBA fan first, and I feel your NBA coverage has decreased. Has the way/amount you consume the NBA, especially during NFL, changed in the last few years?
Yeah, I mean, this year in particular, I'm consuming way less during the NFL. I don't think the games are quite as fun to watch. And listen, I still love the league, and we'll cover it extensively post-football. But yes, the answer to that is, yeah, it has. Let's go to WX.
WX, what does Sirianni have to do for you to acknowledge him as a good coach? All he does is win far beyond what you expect him to. At some point, you have to give this one up.
Okay, listen, those are great points, and I've always said wins are a coaching stat. The counterpoint to that is the Eagles thought of replacing him for Bill Belichick this offseason. 3 weeks in, or a month into the year, he's screaming at his own fans when they beat the Browns. And even this week, there was like this nonsense on the sidelines. Like, they do win, and maybe he is better than I give him credit for. I also don't know exactly what he does. Kellen Moore calls the offense. Vic Fangio calls the defense. Seems like A.J. Brown dictates whether or not they're passing the ball a lot or not. He's not even allowed to discipline Jalen Carter. The position coach won't allow it. I mean, it's a weird spot. All right, fun show. Good job. See you guys on Thursday. I got to go do Colin, then do first things first. Great job, Damonza. What's right? Hey, thanks for watching. If you're still here, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the bell so you can be notified when we have new episodes. After you've done that, one more favor, go to your favorite audio platform of choice and subscribe there as well. Don't forget, we're live every Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern-ish. 10:35, 10:40. It sometimes changes, but that's why you hit the bell. You hit the bell so you're notified. You subscribe so we can get to 200,000 followers. We're right around 150,000. We'd love to get to 200,000, get Damonza another plaque. So like, subscribe, rate, send a rating too. Do all that cool stuff. Thanks, guys.